Emily poured her entire youth into building their dream lakeside home with husband Ryan. But on that fateful night, Ryan dropped a bombshell that shattered her world. Sarah and Alex are moving in with us. His ex-wife and stepchild, without even asking Emily's opinion. She stayed silent, but behind that silence was brewing a ruthless revenge plan that Ryan could never imagine. When Ryan confidently brought his ex-wife and son to their dream house, he was stunned by an unbelievable scene. An elderly couple standing on the porch claiming to be the new owners. Emily had vanished without a trace, leaving Ryan with nothing but ruins and the brutal truth. He had been outplayed by his own wife in the most perfect game of revenge. And before we continue, write in the comments from which country you're watching the video. And also check if you're subscribed to the channel, as I share interesting life stories with you every day. Okay, let's enjoy the story. Emily had long dreamed of her own little corner of peace and quiet, a place where she could escape the hustle and bustle of the big city and recharge her batteries. And now, after several years of hard work and saving, her dream had finally come true. She bought a small but very cozy house on the shore of a picturesque lake, just an hour's drive from the city. She imagined spending weekends here, enjoying the silence and tranquility. She dreamed of hosting guests, throwing parties, and simply spending time with loved ones. This was her personal paradise, a haven where she could forget all her troubles. Emily joyfully planned her new life in this house, envisioning how she and Ryan would furnish it together, create comfort, and fill it with love and happiness. Emily savored every day in her new home. She walked in the forest, swam in the lake, read books on the terrace, and cooked delicious dinners for Ryan. She felt happy and fulfilled. It seemed like all her dreams had come true. Ryan, her husband, shared her joy and enthusiasm. He gladly helped her choose furniture and finishing materials, offering advice on the setup. Emily was thrilled to see how invested he was in the idea, believing this would be their nest, a place to strengthen their relationship and build a happy family. Emily believed they had found their place in life, that they had created their own little heaven on earth. Ryan stood by the window with his back to Emily, gazing at the lake. Behind him, she felt blissful, anticipating a quiet evening together. Ryan turned around, and Emily noticed a strange expression on his face. He looked tense and somewhat guilty, which made her wary. "Emily, we need to talk," he said, his voice unusually serious. Emily turned off the stove and sat at the table across from Ryan. Her heart pounded wildly, sensing something bad. She looked at her husband intently, trying to understand what was happening. "What's wrong, Ryan?" "You're scaring me," she asked quietly. Ryan took a deep breath, as if gathering courage, and began speaking. "You see, Emily, I've been thinking and decided." He hesitated, avoiding her gaze. "Basically, I've decided that Sarah and Alex need help." Emily didn't understand where he was going. Sarah was his ex-wife, whom he had split from years ago. Emily knew they had a son, Alex, but she never thought Ryan still kept close ties with them. "Help? Help with what?" Emily asked, bewildered. Ryan finally met her eyes, his gaze a mix of defiance and justification. "They'll live here with us." Emily was stunned. She couldn't believe her ears. "What? What did you say?" she repeated, hoping she'd misheard. "I said Sarah and Alex are moving in with us. There's plenty of space here. It'll be better for them than in their cramped apartment." Emily sat in silence, trying to process what she'd heard. She felt a wave of anger and hurt rising inside her. How could he make such a decision without consulting her? How could he so brazenly dispose of their shared home, her dream? "Ryan, do you even realize what you're saying? This is our house. We plan to live here together, build a family," Emily exclaimed, her voice trembling with indignation. "Emily, don't dramatize it. I've thought it all through. It's temporary. They're just struggling right now and need help. Plus, Alex needs his father, and I want to be there for him. And what about me? Have you thought about my feelings, my plans?" Emily asked in despair. Ryan shrugged. "You'll have to accept it, Emily. We've already decided. Sarah's packing. They'll arrive in a couple of days." Those words sounded like a sentence. She realized Ryan didn't see her as an equal partner. He was just using her as it suited him. All her love and devotion had been a waste of time. Emily didn't throw a tantrum. She silently stood from the table and left the kitchen. She didn't want to show Ryan her pain and disappointment. She needed time to think and decide. She went upstairs to the bedroom, locked the door, sat on the bed, and cried. It hurt. It was painful and scary. Scary that the life she'd so carefully built was so fragile and illusory. After several hours, the tears brought no relief. She needed to act. She couldn't let Ryan ruin her life. She had to protect herself and her future. Emily pulled out her phone and dialed her mother, Margaret. She knew her mom would always support her and help in any situation. "Mom, I need your help," Emily said, her voice shaking with emotion.
"What happened, sweetie?"
"You're scaring me," Margaret asked worriedly. Emily told her mom everything that had occurred, sharing her pain, hurt, and disappointment. She explained that Ryan had decided to move his ex-wife and son into their house without asking her opinion. Margaret listened attentively and said, "Sweetie, don't worry. We'll figure something out. Remember, the house is in my name." Emily recalled that when she bought the house, anticipating possible issues, she had put it in her mother's name as a little insurance, a safeguard against unforeseen circumstances. "Yes, Mom, I remember." "What are we going to do?" Emily asked hopefully. "We'll sell this house, sweetie. Sell it as soon as possible. You shouldn't live with a man who doesn't value or respect you." Emily felt relief. She knew her mom was right. She couldn't stay in this marriage, in this house where she'd been betrayed and humiliated. "Thanks, Mom. I agree." "Do whatever it takes," Emily said, her voice firm and resolute. Margaret promised to handle the sale immediately. She'd call a realtor friend and ask him to find a buyer quickly. Emily felt a new strength awakening in her. She no longer felt like a victim. She was ready to fight for her happiness and freedom. She left the bedroom and went downstairs. Ryan was in the living room watching television. He hadn't even noticed she'd been crying. Emily approached him and calmly said, "Ryan, we need to talk." Ryan turned off the television and looked at her. "I'm listening," he replied. "I agree. Sarah and Alex can live here," she said, trying to keep her voice steady and emotionless. Ryan looked at her in surprise. "Really? You're not upset?" he asked. "No, not upset. I understand you want to help them. I just want you to be happy," Emily replied, looking Ryan straight in the eyes. Ryan smiled. "Thanks, Emily. You're the best wife in the world," he said, and hugged her. But in her heart, there wasn't a drop of love left. She was just waiting for the moment to avenge her pain and humiliation. Secretly from Ryan, Emily called the realtor Margaret had recommended. She arranged a meeting and handed over all necessary documents for the sale. She asked him to act quickly and not draw Ryan's attention. Emily decided to keep up appearances and continued behaving calmly with her husband. She cooked for him, washed his clothes, and pretended nothing had happened. She played the role of a loving and caring wife, but in her soul, a plan for revenge was brewing. She knew Ryan would be thrilled when Sarah and Alex arrived at their house. She imagined how proud he'd be of himself, seeing himself as a hero and savior, but she also knew his joy would be short-lived. She planned to deprive him of everything he valued: the house and his self-respect. Ryan left for a few days to help Sarah and Alex pack and move their things to the house. Meanwhile, Emily and Margaret found buyers for the house, a retired couple, Henry and Eleanor, who dreamed of a quiet life by the lake. Emily agreed on the price and closing date with them. Everything was ready. All that remained was to wait for their arrival to deliver the blow. Ryan, beaming with anticipation, pulled up to the lakeside house. Beside him in the car sat Sarah and her son Alex. Sarah looked 10 years younger. Her eyes sparkled with hope for a new life. Alex, engrossed in his phone, only occasionally glanced at the passing trees. The car was packed with stuff, suitcases, boxes, sports gear, everything Ryan thought would make them comfortable in the new home. Ryan turned off the engine, and the three of them got out. He straightened his shoulders, inhaling the fresh lake air, and surveyed the house. The sun played on its walls, making it look even cozier. "Well, here we are," he exclaimed to Sarah and Alex. "You'll love it here." Sarah smiled, but a shadow of uncertainty flickered in her eyes. Alex remained indifferent, still staring at his phone. "Come on, I'll show you the house," Ryan suggested, heading to the front door. He confidently pulled out the keys, but noticed an elderly couple standing on the porch, curiously eyeing the arrivals. "Hello," Ryan greeted, frowning slightly. "We've come to our house." The elderly man, with neatly trimmed gray hair and wrinkles around his eyes, stepped forward. "Hello," he replied. "And who might you be?" "I'm Ryan. This is Sarah and Alex." "We live here," Ryan said uncertainly, feeling anxiety building inside. "Live here?" the man repeated, raising his eyebrows in surprise. "That's odd. We just bought this house yesterday from Margaret." Ryan froze as if struck by lightning. He shifted his gaze to the woman beside the man. She had a gentle face and kind eyes, nodding in confirmation of her husband's words. "Yes, we're Henry and Eleanor," she introduced herself. "This is our house, now." Ryan felt his legs weaken. He tried to gather his thoughts, but his mind was in chaos. "You bought this house?" he muttered, staring at Henry. "But this must be some mistake." "There's no mistake," Henry replied calmly. "We have all the documents in order. I can show them if you want." He went into the house, pulled a folded paper from a shelf, and handed it to Ryan. Ryan took the document mechanically but couldn't focus. He saw seals, signatures, numbers, but couldn't grasp their meaning. Sarah, who had been standing aside all this time, finally spoke up. "What's going on?" she asked, frowning. "Who are these people?" "They say they bought the house," Ryan whispered, feeling panic rising inside. "Bought it? From whom?" Sarah didn't understand. "From Margaret," Henry answered. "Your wife's mother, I believe." "This is a misunderstanding," Ryan tried to explain to Henry and Eleanor. "This house belongs to my wife. We'll sort it out right now." He pulled out his phone and tried calling Emily. Ring, 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 no answer. Ryan hung up and dialed again. More rings, then silence. "She's not answering," he said, despair growing inside. "Maybe she's busy," Sarah suggested, trying to stay calm. "Try later." "I don't understand what's happening," Ryan muttered, staring at the house. Henry cleared his throat and looked at Ryan with sympathy. "Listen, young man," he said. "I understand this is an unpleasant situation, but we have all the documents confirming our ownership. We paid a good sum for this house, and we want to live here." "But where do we go now?" Sarah asked in confusion, looking at Ryan. Alex, who had been watching indifferently until now, finally looked up from his phone. "Dad, what's going on here?" he asked, frowning. "Why can't we go into the house?" Ryan didn't know what to say. He felt like a complete fool, deceived and humiliated. He'd believed in his own cleverness, his ability to manipulate people, but in the end, he was the victim. I'll figure it out right now," he muttered, dialing Emily's number again, but the phone was silent. Emily wasn't answering. She seemed to have vanished, leaving him alone on the road with his ex-wife and her son, a pile of stuff, and shattered hopes. Seeing Ryan's confusion, Henry and Eleanor decided to leave him be. They quietly entered the house, leaving him under the gaze of the cold autumn sun. Ryan stood thunderstruck, unsure what to do next. He stared at the house, the closed door, and realized it was all over. His plan had failed. He'd lost everything, and he was the only one to blame. Sarah, unable to bear the tension, burst into tears. Alex, not fully understanding, hugged her shoulders. Ryan watched them and felt even more worthless. He'd betrayed Emily, deceived Sarah, and let Alex down. Now he had to pay for his mistakes. He tried calling Emily again, silence. He knew she wouldn't answer. She'd gotten her revenge, beautifully, coldly, and mercilessly. He turned to Sarah and Alex and said, "Let's go. We don't belong here." They, still not fully grasping what happened, silently followed him. Ryan got behind the wheel, started the car, and slowly drove off. He glanced in the rearview mirror at the receding house and felt emptiness growing inside. On the way, Ryan kept trying to reach Emily, but to no avail. Finally, he received a message. Meet tomorrow at the cafe. Emily didn't want to see him in any place meaningful to them. She didn't want to see him at all, but she needed to put an end to it, looking him in the eyes. She arrived on time, sat at a table by the window, and ordered a cup of coffee. Ryan was 15 minutes late, breathless and agitated. "Emily, darling, sorry I'm late," he blurted, sitting across from her. Desperation and hope shone in his eyes. Emily didn't respond, just took a small sip of coffee. "What does all this mean?" Ryan finally asked, breaking the heavy silence. This house. Henry and Eleanor. Do you even realize what you've done? Emily set her cup down. Her face was calm and impassive. I understand perfectly better than you think. But we dreamed of it together. I dreamed of it. That's why I took precautions. Ryan tried to justify himself. For Alex's sake, he's just a kid. And what am I? Furniture in the house? Something you can move around as you please? You didn't even ask me. You just presented it as fact. You'll have to accept it. Remember your words? Ryan sat silent, head bowed. He had nothing to say. All his arguments sounded pathetic and unconvincing, even to him. I realized long ago what kind of person you are, Ryan, that only you and your desires matter, that you're willing to step over anyone for your own gain. That's why I took measures in advance. Emily spoke firmly and confidently, each word like a nail hammered into the coffin of their relationship. But why so cruelly? Ryan whispered. Why make a fool of me? Why leave me homeless? And how did you want it? For me to thank you for the betrayal? To applaud your genius in settling your ex-wife in our house? You chose this path yourself, Ryan. You dug your own grave. I thought you'd forgive me. You always forgave me before. Before, I loved you, believed in you, turned a blind eye to your flaws. But everything has a limit. My patience snapped the moment you decided you could control my life, my house, my future as you saw fit. What happens now? Ryan asked, lifting eyes full of despair to Emily. Now you'll live with the consequences of your actions, Emily replied, standing from the table, and I'll start a new life without you. She turned and headed for the exit, leaving Ryan alone in the cafe with shattered dreams and the realization of his mistake. He sat motionless, staring after her, as if paralyzed. Fragments of memories flashed in his mind, their first meeting, the wedding, buying the house. Everything seemed so distant and unreal. For Emily, her mother's house became a temporary refuge. Margaret welcomed her with open arms. Sympathy and pride for her daughter shone in her eyes. "Sweetie, I knew you were strong," Margaret said, hugging her. Emily smiled gratefully. Her mother's support was the most important thing now. "Thanks, Mom. I don't know what I'd do without you." "Everything will be fine, Emily. You're young, beautiful, successful. You have your whole life ahead." Emily spent a few days at her mother's house, trying to recover. She thought a lot about the past, analyzed her mistakes, and made plans for the future. The hardest part was admitting that Ryan, the man she loved and trusted, turned out to be nothing like she'd imagined. His selfishness and greed had overshadowed everything good that once existed between them. A few months later, Emily bought an apartment in the city center. She furnished it with taste and love, creating a cozy nest where it was pleasant to be. She continued working, growing her business, and traveling. She met new people and made new friends. Emily knew her life had turned out exactly as it should. She'd gone through pain and disappointment, but it made her stronger and wiser. She learned to love and value herself, and she was ready for new challenges and adventures. She no longer feared the future. She looked at it with optimism and hope. She knew everything would be good because she deserved it. She deserved happiness. All right, thanks for listening.